it's Jazz and this is Wildlife Matters. The Philippines is home to a very unique species of animal. In fact, so unique that it's actually the most endangered land mammal in the Philippines. I'm talking about the Tamaraw. And since every October is Tamaraw month, how can we not do an episode about it? But before we begin, I hope you can support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, liking our Facebook page, and following our social media pages. Tamaraws are a species of buffalo that are endemic to Mindoro, Philippines. That means Mindoro is the only place in the world where you can find them. They're also called dwarf buffaloes because they look very similar to our carabaos, which are another species of buffalo that we commonly use in agriculture in the Philippines. Now, Tamaraws are solitary, meaning they like to spend most of their time alone, unless they're breeding, of course. Another unique thing about them is they are hider species, meaning that they like to hide their young instead of bringing them around everywhere they go, like some other animals. And in terms of behavior, Tamaraws are resilient. Though they are cute, they are defensive, especially females who are more ferocious than males. I can definitely relate. Tamaraws can smell people as far as 100 meters away, and they intentionally avoid humans. If ever they run into them, they will either chase them or run away from them. That's how solitary they are. But these animals are so rare that they are classified as critically endangered on the IUCN Red List. Tamaraws can be found only in 4 places in Mindoro. What are their populations like?
Every year since 2000, the Tamaraw Conservation Program, it is the special project of the government for Tamaraw conservation. We are having this Tamaraw population count every April. We have these 18 vantage points in Mount Siglit-Baco Natural Park with 3 to 5 rangers and volunteers and researchers conducting this counting. We identify it if it's a bull, it's a cow, so yung male, female, it's a juvenile, so it's a yearling, or it's yung calf, yung mas bata. I've been participating in the counting for I think 10 years. In 2018, I was given the chance to lead the project. For me, it's really a calling. Marami tayong innovations, marami tayong activities na ginawa na beyond the targets, no? For example, we had a lot of explorations. We also discovered two new populations. In 2018, we have 523. Then in 2019, it's 480. For this year, we were not allowed by the indigenous peoples to conduct the activity because of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So the protected area was closed since March. So until now, the protected area is closed. So no activities, but the Tamaraw Rangers are there, the protected area rangers are there, doing the regular patrols for the protection of the Tamaraw and other wildlife species in the area. It's still widely distributed in the island of Mindoro, one in Oriental Mindoro, and for Occidental Mindoro, we have Mount Siglit-Baco Natural Park, Mount Calavite Wildlife Sanctuary, Aruyan Malati Wildlife Reservation, and Upper Amnay. All in all, we have a rough figure of 600. The number is just an estimate because the methodology for the counting is really not that precise. Because we are just using binoculars, marking our sheets. No, what time did we sow this Tamaraw? What is he doing? There's always a possibility of double counting. But we really are trying our best na ma-minimize yung error for that.
Basically, across Mindoro, there are around 600 of them. But if you look at the numbers where they're distributed, you'll see that some places have as low as only 4 Tamaraws. Imagine how easy they could just disappear. Tamaraws are very much threatened by things like poaching, hunting, and habitat loss. What are the biggest threats that Tamaraws are facing today?
Number one is the poaching. Hunting is being used for indigenous people. They hunt wildlife species because it's part of their tradition, it's part of their diet. But we have this agreement with them that if possible, please don't hunt Tamaraws. The poachers are the ones who are from outside the protected area, or they are the non-IPs.
And last August, we heard about the incident wherein poachers had slaughtered some Tamaraws and they were planning to sell it illegally as tapa or buffalo bush jerky. But thankfully, according to Miss June, the poachers have now been captured and the court is already on the case. With all the threats and the small number of Tamaraws we have left, they can quickly disappear from the face of the earth. In Mindoro, there's a place called the Tamaraw Tamaraw gene pool farm, wherein in the 1980s they captured 20 Tamaraws in order to study and breed them in captivity. But since they didn't have much knowledge then, it was challenging.
Yeah.
Why do you think it was, so hard to breed them?
First is the age of the animals, because these 20 animals, when they were trapped, they were already maybe 30 years old, 40 years old. The perfect age for reproduction is really 7, 8 years old. And there's really no research or literature that could say that these animals are 10 years old. Most of them are estimations. They were really not perfect pairs. Out of the 20, I think there's only 4 female and most of them are male. Doon pa lang para medyo may failure na agad kasi konti lang yung babae. Then may edad na sila.
Tamaraws will give birth only once a year, and within that year, they only produce 1 offspring. So imagine how long it would take for us to raise up their numbers.
They have successfully bred naman. Kaya lang when they were about to give birth, some were na-abort, some were stillbirth. Next na was Jinboy. So 1 year lang siya. Based on the records na rin, maybe Jinboy died of stress and also because he's being experimented that time. Getting blood samples and all. So the animal is too young for that. From the 20, 13 yung namatay. 13 yung namatay doon sa captivity.
Oh no.
Doon sa enclosure, very limited yung space. Unlike in their natural habitat, napakalaki. One of the researchers, yung antagal na, mga 1960s pa yung research na to, na they said that 1 to 3 Tamaraw, the area that they need is 10,000 hectares. So for Tamaraw Gene Pool Farm, kung nasa enclosure yung mga Tamaraws, talagang hindi. And also, most of the Tamaraws who died in captivity, most of them are yung parasites, pneumonia, liver fluke, ganun yung mga naging sakit nila. So, one after the other, ang daming nag-manage ng Tamaraw Conservation Program until 1987 na nalipat siya sa DENR. Yeah, that time kasi in 1990, very limited pa yung knowledge natin. Now that we have partnerships with conservation organizations under IUCN, the DNR has been collaborating with IUCN for a long time now. We have successful researches, but we really focus on habitat protection, habitat management.
And just this week, Kali, our only captive Tamaraw, died.
A lot of people are asking, why don't we get again? But the experience of having this massive death, it's really hard to win again the heart of the indigenous people, that they will allow the government to get again another. It's still fresh in their minds. Nung these crates with the Tamaraw are being flown away, dala ng helicopter. Until now, it's still fresh in their minds na they saw it, na madami yun na dumadaan na masakit talaga na unti-unti na mamatay. We are really not closing our door for further research, but what we are welcoming is really on habitat assessment, translocation meaning, for example, Aruyan Malati Tamaraw Reservation, we only have around 5 to 7 Tamaraws there. So it's no longer healthy. So kailangan we have this plan of transferring some of the population from Nautic Bako to Aruyan Malati, to Calavite, in other parts of the world. Kasi we are really threatened din. What if yung cattle disease before na halos nag-wipe out ng population ng Tamaraw, what if maulit yun? Ubos ang population. In 2018, December, we have this population and habitat viability assessment workshop with IUCN and all stakeholders in Mindoro na merong concern sa Tamaraw. And we came up with a Tamaraw Conservation Management Action Plan, 5-year management plan for Tamaraw conservation, na kung saan we really put direction what to do next.
Kali was an advocate, a symbol of hope for Tamaraw conservation, because he was the first successfully bred Tamaraw that lived more than 20 years. Tamaraws have an average lifespan of 20 to 25 years, and Kali died at 21, and according to their reports, most likely out of old age. But now that he's gone, there are no more Tamaraws left under human care. If this isn't a wake-up call, then I don't know what is. We need to do something, and fast, before their time runs out. And education is just the beginning. Tell your friends about the Philippine Tamaraw. Learn about your local wildlife and do your research, because people can't protect something that they don't know about. Did you know that the Tamaraw isn't even our national animal? But if you ask me, I think the Tamaraw should be our national animal because you can only find it in the Philippines, whereas the carabao can be found in other countries as well. The Tamaraw is our nation's pride, and it deserves to be recognized across the country for us and our children and our children's children to be proud of. And don't worry, in our next episode, we'll talk about some ways that we can help in conserving them. But for now, I just wanted to focus on talking to you about what the Tamaraw is and why we need to conserve it. Because obviously, this is an urgent matter, and we can't protect something that we don't know about. How do you think we can encourage people, our audience watching this video, how can they help in conserving the Tamaraw?
By spreading awareness. So we are encouraging, especially the youth, to engage into research. Help us. Collaboration with the academe. We have good literature about Tamaraw conservation that you could really share, but it's not that enough. Kaya nga we are encouraging academes to help us. We know how to do things, but we really don't. It is really not our cup of tea. Yung pagsusulat, yung at saka siguro yung patience to do research. We have the data, but we really don't have the time to process everything. Konti lang kasi ang mga empleyado ng gobyerno, but napakadami ng ginagawa. That's why we really are open for partnership, collaboration, because we really believe that the DNR or the government cannot do it alone. Whatever happens to the population of Tamaraw in the wild, sisisihin kami ng buong mundo. Because the world is watching us, the whole world is watching us. So, for example, the IUCN, they are really very eager to help the Philippines, to help us in the conservation of the Tamaraws. But medyo kasi may kulang sa atin eh.
Spread the word for the Tamaraw, because remember, every piece of wildlife matters.